Good morning, everyone. We have some additional chairs throughout if you want to come in, and we'll bring in some extra chairs as well in the back. Welcome to West Hartford Senior Centers. This location is Bishop's Corner. We also have Elmwood Senior Center on the other side of town. My name is Rebecca Sears, and I oversee both of the senior centers in town. And we're very, very excited to have Attorney General William Tong here to speak about elder justice. And we're very appreciative to Noreen Bachteler, who is the co-chair of the West Hartford Senior Citizens Advisory Commission, who helped put this together today. So I would like to introduce Noreen to you now.
Good morning, all. And while I am the current co-chair along with Eileen, it's a 9-member commission, so I'd like to thank everyone that was part of the commission for taking part in this. This is something that we've been working to have since the fall, so we're very happy this morning to have all of you here. And as mentioned, I am the current co-chair, and I'd like to thank Director here, Becky Sears, for all of her assistance in today's programs. Fellow members of our commission are here, so if we have an opportunity after, if you have any questions, please check with them. And we have our Deputy Mayor, Ben Winograd, and Helen Rubino-Turco of our Town Social and Leisure Services. We are most pleased today to be welcoming home Attorney General William Tong to West Hartford. The Senior Citizens Advisory Commission has been an advisory commission to the town for over 50 years. studying the housing, employment, recreation, health, and safety issues of its older adults, and we meet monthly except for July and August. The SAC was in the forefront of helping to establish the Senior Jobs Bank as well as supporting other senior initiatives. With over 15,000 older adults age 55 and over living in West Hartford, it is important now, more than ever, to become aware of the senior scams, frauds, and find ways to protect ourselves. Today's program with Attorney General Tong is an important step in that direction, and next month we will be hosting the Connecticut Banking Outreach Coordinator to continue this conversation. I encourage all of you to take a copy of our yellow flyer at the door that tells you about other programs that we're having in 2024, so you can join us. William Tong is our 25th Attorney General to serve Connecticut since the office was established in 1897. He took office on January 9th, 2019, as the first Asian American elected at the statewide level in Connecticut. Before his election as Attorney General, he served for 12 years in Connecticut's General Assembly and served as House Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He helped lead passage of landmark legislation, including the Domestic Violence Restraining Order Act, Lost and Stolen Firearms Act, the Act Protecting Homeowners' Rights, and the Act Protecting School Children. A Connecticut native, Attorney General Tong grew up in the Hartford area and attended schools right here early in his young life in West Hartford, then moving on to Phillips Andover Academy, Brown University, and the University of Chicago Law School. He is the oldest of 5 children and grew up working side by side with his immigrant parents and their family's Chinese restaurant. He and his wife Elizabeth now reside in Stamford with their 3 children and too many pets. Let us give a warm welcome to Attorney General William Tong.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I usually, when I do these things, I like to step out from behind the podium. But we have TV with us today, so I have to stay stationary. This doesn't normally happen, so it must be because I'm coming home here to West Hartford. So I'm gonna stay here, and I won't be able to move around. But look forward to fielding your questions in a few minutes. Let me thank Becky and the Senior Center and Noreen and the Advisory Commission. Are there other Advisory Commission members here? Great, thank you all for being here. I have to make a few acknowledgments. First, State Representative Kate Farrar wanted to be here, but the legislature's in session. So the entire delegation is in the Capitol or running around Hartford, working hard for West Hartford right now. The mayor's traveling, but she wanted to be here with us. Kelly Leffler of the AARP, the Associate State Director, I think she's supposed to be here. Kelly, could you stand up? Thank you for being here. My very good friend, Catherine Blinder, Chief of Education and Outreach of the Department of Consumer Protection. DCP is our partner in a lot of the work that I'm going to talk about today in protecting all of you. And Michelle Puzo, the Executive Director of UR Community Cares. Is Michelle here, please? Thank you, Michelle. And then there are other members of the Elder Justice Coalition. Could you also raise your hands if you're here today? There are a few of us. Well, the people that lead that work in my office are here. Inez Diaz-Veloza is here, please. Inez, stand up. And Inez is going to factor in very importantly in my presentation in a minute. And Lori Fernand, my Chief of Outreach, is also here. So, why is this a homecoming? And thank you, Ben Wenengrad, for welcoming me back to West Hartford, the Deputy Mayor. So I grew up in West Hartford on the corner of Boulevard and Arnoldale. And my parents are trying to sell the house, actually, which is sad. It's my childhood home. But they live in Glastonbury now. They met in a Chinese restaurant on Blue Hills Avenue in Bloomfield, so not far from here. And when I was a kid, I went to what was then the Quaker Lane Nursery School. I understand it's still there, but goes by a slightly different name. And then I went to Whiting Lane, and then I went to Renbrook on Avon Mountain. And then my parents sent me away because I was poorly behaved. And so it's always good to be home in West Hartford and to be with all of you. And to share some thoughts about how to protect yourselves as older Americans and how we work in the Office of the Attorney General and with the Department of Consumer Protection and so many other state agencies to help support you and protect you every single day. So let's start with a simple question. Why do you think people target older Americans, people over 60? Although I think AARP sets the line at 50, of which I am now a member. So let's say people over 50. Why do scammers target all of us? Why do they target all of you?
There's money.
Okay, maybe. I don't think people might disagree with you on that, but what else?
As wealth.
We all grew up when we were raised to be compliant.
Compliant,
Not-
trusting,
Right.
heard, gullible, but Noreen's on the right track.
I think there's a belief of, an ageist belief that older people are less confident
Yes.
and more gullible.
That's very ageist, and it's not true. Because people are obviously very successful and very active well into their older years, and very well just professionally handling their own affairs. So that is an ageist belief. Yeah, Noreen is in the right vicinity. The reason why scammers target all of you, is because you have money, right? Older Americans, if you've saved, if you have a pension, if you have a 401k, if you get Social Security, if you get disability payments, older Americans have money. Nobody is trying to scam 20-year-olds in college because they have no money. And they're not really trying to scam, people that have 3 kids they're trying to put through college because they have no money. They focus on you because you have money. And they do it in so many different ways. If you have one of these things, which I know all of you do, or an iPad, or a laptop, or a desktop, or an old-fashioned landline, we're all easy targets because there's so many ways to get through to us these days. And what I try to say, oh Mike, how are you? And what I try to remind people of is there's a scam for everyone these days. It doesn't matter who you are and how educated you are. Some people say, well, I have a PhD, or I was a banker, or I was a lawyer. No, everybody is vulnerable, and everybody's exposed. How do I know? Because even I fall for it. So I'll give you an example. I was in my office one day, and I got an email that appeared to be from like the state of Connecticut information technology people. And it says, yeah, you got to update your records or something. Here, click on this link. I was like, all right, this looks legit. I clicked on the link. And I'm sitting in my office, and 2 minutes later, the head of IT in my office, Mohanad, comes in and he says, Mr. Attorney General, you just failed the security test. By clicking on the link, Inez is like, oh, maybe I failed that one too. So none of us is immune, and all of us are exposed to scams. So what do you think the biggest scams are facing people over 50?
Gift cards.
Gift cards. Gift cards are a big mechanism that people use to get people to pay money in scams. So know that, and know that it happens. Know that it happens a lot. We had a situation in our office where one spouse, I think it was the wife, noticed that her husband was one day running around buying at gift cards furiously, at Target and then at CVS. She was like, what's going on? And he was in the middle of getting scammed, and she was able to identify and stop it. So gift cards is sort of the end of the scam. What's the front end of the scam? What are some scams that people get?
Relatives.
Relatives. Grandparents scam, right? That's the most common one. You get a phone call. Your granddaughter, Julie, is traveling, in Spain. She's in trouble, right? She got arrested, and the way they do it in Spain is you can bail her out if you pay $25,000 in cash or in gift cards, or if you wire money. And so, how many people have gotten a call like that, right? Grandparents scam. So, how do you protect yourself from grandparent scam? A couple of quick tips. Number one, know that it's happening. And if you have grandchildren or nieces and nephews or grandnieces and grandnephews, make sure you have their cell numbers or their parents' cell numbers, so that if you get a grandparent scam and Julie's in trouble, you can, do a double take, thank you, hang up the phone, and call Julie, right? Or call her parents. How do they know to target you for the grandparent scam? Yes, social media, okay? They get online, and they know Julie's in Spain because Julie's talking about it on her Instagram, okay? Oh, by the way, she's on her Facebook, because the kids these days don't really use Facebook, but we do. So she might be communicating with you on Facebook or Instagram, and you might be saying, nice pictures, Julie, right? And you're going back and forth, so you know who Grandma is, they know who Julie is, they know where she's been traveling, they know the city, they know the school, right? They know what her friends' names are. So they gather a lot of information, a lot of data, and they give it back to you on the phone, all right? Deep fakes these days are an issue. I won't lie to you. People are now taking samples of voices, and then they're using technology to construct a fake message. Let me tell you something that happened to me the other day. I was in Seattle at an attorney general meeting, and they hadn't made up my room. So it was like 4 o'clock, and I called down to the front desk to ask them to come make the bed in the hotel. And somebody picked up and they said, hello, Hyatt Guest Services, how can I help you? And I said, yeah, I don't know if it's too late in the day, but somebody didn't make up my room. And they said, oh, sorry to hear that, sir, we'll get on it right away. And I thought the tone was a little chipper. And I said, do you still, after COVID, do you still make up the rooms? Yes, sir, we still make up the rooms, and we're happy to do it right away. And then I said, what's your name? And the response was, yes, sir, right away, we'll get to it right away. And so it was AI. It sounded like a real person interacting with me, and it was a little freaky, and frankly, just a little disappointing for the Grand Hyatt to not have a real person. But know that it happens, know that there's AI, know there's deep fakes, and we can't stay awake at night worrying about all these things in technology. You can start by being aware that it happens, be aware that you're a target, be aware that likely your grandchild or your grandson, granddaughter is not in trouble, okay? Make sure you have cell numbers. Here's one that sounds a little silly, but it's a good tip. At the holidays this year, or maybe at a family gathering in the spring, if you get together for somebody's birthday, come up with a code word, like buttercup, okay? And it's a word that nobody else will know. Does it sound ridiculous? Sure, but it's not that big a deal. You come up with a word, you agree on what the word is, and if Julie, I've been using Julie as an example, if Julie calls, she can say, Grandma, I'm in trouble, buttercup, and you know it's Julie. Or you can ask the person, what's the code word? And if they don't have a code word, you know it's not your grandson or granddaughter. So just be careful. Know that social media is a source of these scams. Know they happen a lot. What's another kind of scam?
Online romance.
You guys are good. You know, I usually have a build-up, but Noreen came out with the money thing, and you hit online romance. So before I get to that, let me say another scam that you will receive a lot is the utility or taxpayer scam. So you'll get a call that says, it's the IRS, it's the state of Connecticut, it's the town of West Hartford, it's the deputy mayor, Ben Winograd, and you owe money, and I want you to go to CVS and get me gift cards and pay the tax bill. That will never happen, okay? So, and by the way, you all know this, all right? But this is also for the advisory commission. You know, when you talk to people that you serve, make sure they understand. No legitimate government agency is going to call you and ask you for money right on the spot. Or for gift cards. But people, you can get people at any time if you've had a bad day, you know, if you have a lot of pressure in your life, people can get jammed up and just make a bad decision, right? You're in, you know, the huge storm, and Eversource calls and says, you know, you haven't paid your bill, or United Illuminating, or your local utility, and you owe us $1,000, and you haven't been paying attention, but you're worried about getting your power back on, and you know, you have medicine in the refrigerator, you have a medical device you have to run with power, and you get jammed up, and you pay the bill, you give a credit card number, or you wire money, or you give gift cards. And the reason why I know this is true, that anybody can get taken at any time, is because it happens to all of us. It happened to my mom. So I just talked about my parents. They met in a Chinese restaurant on Blue Hills Avenue in Bloomfield. They ran a Chinese restaurant first on Park Street in Hartford, and then in Wethersfield. If anybody remembers the Sampan on Silas Dean, that was my parents' place for 20 years. But my mom is the toughest immigrant businesswoman you will ever meet, right? If Nancy walked in here, you would think nobody will get anything by Nancy. But my mom and dad rented some apartments. They actually rented this house on the boulevard for a long time. And so she would handle the rental transactions herself. And she fell for the overpayment scam. Do you know that scam? So basically, she got an email, and some guy in England says, or allegedly in England, says, I'd like to rent your apartment. She goes, great, it's, you know, whatever, $2,000 a month, and we need a security deposit, and he says, great, I'll send you a check. And he sends a check for way too much money. Yeah. And my mom says, oh, well, you sent me too much money. He said, don't worry about that. You deposit the check and keep a little for yourself for the trouble, but send me the difference, you know, my overpayment. Wire it to me, and we're square. And she goes, great. She wired him the money, okay? She ended up wiring $5,000. And she goes to deposit the check, and what happened? It's a bad check. Okay? So anybody, anytime, including Nancy Tong, I'm glad the TV cameras are not here, so she'd be very angry about me telling that story. Another one, I'll give you another quick example before I talk about the romance scams. Another gentleman in Hartford, and this is a call we got at our office. He had an issue with his laptop. Now, how many of us have issues with our technology? All of us, right? I'm the IT guy at home, okay? Which means when the internet goes out, my family screams, and I go around unplugging and plugging things back in. That's the extent of my knowledge. But this guy had trouble with his laptop, so he goes on the internet, goes in the Google machine, finds somebody to fix his laptop, and they fix it, and it's great. They call back, and they say, hey, it was Great to work with you, sir. If you're willing to give us a good review and say nice things about us, we'll give you your $300 back. And he says, sure, that'd be great. Well, in order for us to send you the money, we need your bank account information. We need your bank account number, we need your routing number, and Lord knows what other personal information he gave out over the phone, right? Never give out more information than you need to give. People generally don't need your social security number. They definitely don't need credit card information, you know? Even date of birth, that sort of thing. Ask yourself why they need that information, okay? So he gives them the information, and a couple days later, he gets another call. Oh my gosh, we really screwed up. We were trying to send you $300. We sent you $20,000, and we need you to send it back to us. Now this guy's like, okay, this is sounding very fishy. Thank you very much. Let me check it out. He goes and he checks it out. Sure enough, $20,000 in his checking account that wasn't there the day before. Sounds legit. Wired the $20,000. What had happened is they had hacked his account, they'd gotten access to his savings account. They moved $20,000 from savings to checking of his own money. And he gave his own money back to him. True story. Guy in Hartford. So this can happen to anybody at any time. And so you previewed my question. What's the #1 scam targeting people over 60? The romance scam. Okay, and whenever I say this, I get some snickers, and I get some, looks in the crowd like, that would never happen to me. And it's kind of an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but somebody's already given the answer. Why do you think the romance scam is so easy to perpetrate? Social media. Okay?
We're lonely.
It's really easy to know who's single and who's, I don't know if that's me, or who's newly single, okay, right? People who unfortunately lose a spouse or a partner after a long time. There's an obituary, or they go online on social media and say, I was with Frank for 40 years and I miss him, right? Or, I was with Frank for 30 years, finally I kicked his ass out, I'm done with him, it's over. Thank goodness, I'm going away with my girlfriends, right? So these messages you see on social media, and it's really easy for a scammer to figure out you're single, and what you like to eat, where you like to travel to, what books you like to read. All that's on social media, right? You talk about what you're interested in. People really share. Where you live, where you grew up, who your best friend was. All of that's out there if you're active on social media. And so they mine this information, and then they target people. And the tail on these scams is very long, right? A year, 2 years, because they develop a relationship. And you want to talk about people who are vulnerable. People who are newly single are extraordinarily vulnerable, right? If you've been with somebody for a very long time and now you're alone, that's really hard. We've all been there. So somebody starts up a conversation with you online and they seem to love all the same things you love, have a lot of the same experiences, they feel like they're your soulmate. They're not your soulmate, they just know because they've done the research online. And so, oh, by the way, this is not to say one should not date online or find people online because everyone's doing it, right? That's okay. Just be careful. And know that there are scammers out there, that they will know a lot about you, that they will seem to have a lot in common with you. And here's the telltale sign. You will develop this relationship, they'll really rope you in, you'll feel like you're in love, you'll feel like they're a soulmate, and then they'll say, I'm going to come see you. I'm going to get on a plane. Okay? And by the way, one other telltale sign is that they're unnaturally attractive. This is a very good-looking group here, okay? But No offense, Fabrizio from Italy, you know, he's very, very handsome. Okay? And so they're unnaturally attractive. They live abroad. You know, he's in Italy or he's in Greece. I'm gonna come see you. So he's coming on March 1st. Great. It's been a year. It's been 2 years. You've been talking. You've fallen in love. It's 2 weeks away, and you get a message or a call. I got in a car accident. I can't come. And I need the car for work, or I got to drive mom to her medical appointments, and I just can't leave. But if I had 25 grand or 50 grand or 100 grand, right, I could fix all my problems and get on a plane and come see you. And it's that moment of truth, right, where the high pressure moment where you've been waiting for a year or two to see this person, you're in love with this person, and now they're going to pull the rug out from underneath you. But if you paid $50,000, you could still see them. And that's when people get scammed. This happens a lot. I'm sorry to say, it is the most common scam affecting people over 60. And we're not talking about 5 grand. We're not talking about 50 grand. People have lost hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to this scam. So why do I tell you this? Nobody here is going to fall for it. I know that. But it happens so much. You've got to inform your friends and your relatives and make sure you keep an eye out for it. You know, somebody's really happy all of a sudden. They met somebody. They met them online. Just help them understand the risks of that, because there's so much scam activity. Let me spend a few minutes talking about much more serious issues even than scams, and then I'm happy to take some questions. I want to talk about abuse. Okay, so scams are one thing, and hopefully all of you, with some information that I provided today and your own common sense, can protect yourself from scams. By the way, I often get wise guys in the crowd who say, "Oh, I like to play with the scammers. When they call, I keep them on the line and I scam them back." Don't do that. Please, the Attorney General is asking you, do not try to scam the scammers, because you need to assume they're always a step ahead. And they're getting information from you. They're getting a voice imprint from you if you're talking to them. They're extracting information while you're talking to them on the phone. Hang up the phone. And try not to pick up calls if you don't recognize the number. So, abuse is a very serious issue. It falls into 2 broad categories: physical abuse and financial fraud. Let me say it happens a lot more than anybody here wants to acknowledge. The stats say that approximately 1 in 10 adults, 10%, which is a big number of older Americans in this country, are abused. When we talk about physical abuse, abuse is heavily underreported. Only 1 in 23 cases of physical abuse is reported. Why? Shame, fear,
No access to.
no access. The big reason is because the person committing the abuse is somebody that you love and depend on. In the majority of cases, it's a son, daughter, niece, nephew, spouse, right? Grandson, granddaughter. And you depend on this person to take you to the Crown Market, right? Or take you to your doctor's appointment, or to handle paying your utility bills. And we all know the story. You know, Jimmy's a good kid. He had some trouble with drugs, but he finally got his GED, and he's working, and he's doing great, and he just needed $500. And $500 became $1,000, which became $5,000. And you stop giving Jimmy the money, he gets upset and he gets violent. And he hit me, but he didn't mean it, or he pushed me, but he didn't mean it. Right? This is not like something you see on TV. This is real, and people don't report because they depend, 60% of the time it's a family member. They depend on the people who abuse them. Financial fraud is the same. Those cases are even less reported. So I said 1 in 23 cases of physical abuse. Physical abuse may be a little bit harder to hide because somebody's gotten injured. Financial fraud and abuse, 1 in 44 cases. Also, a majority of these cases are people that are relatives. The total estimated annual cost is $36.5 billion annually to older Americans. We think the number is much bigger than that because, right, they're underreported. And as I said before, it's a relative, they get jammed up, we want to help them out, and before you know it, they're forging their signature, you've given power of attorney. This is a very serious issue. Obviously, why do I tell you this? Again, this is a very savvy crowd. You know that if something happened to you, you should call the police. But it's hard. I know it's hard. And so if you're the victim of physical abuse, call the police right away. If you're worried about doing that because it's somebody you're close to, or you're not sure what happened, or you're not ready to give your name, call my office, all right? We're handing out a flyer today. This is our Elder Justice Hotline, and the number is 860-808-5555. You don't have to write it down because we're going to give you these flyers. And the number rings in our office, and Inez's section handles these calls that come in. And with our help and the Elder Justice Coalition, okay, we can start the conversation with you. And even if you're unwilling to give a name or you're not sure, you know, what happened, start the conversation with us. The same with financial fraud or abuse. Call the police first if you know that you've been stolen from or scammed. But if you're a victim of somebody you're close to, you're not sure you want to report, you're not sure whether you have a valid claim, call our office, start the conversation, even if you don't want to give your name. If you know somebody that you do exercises with, or play bingo with, or go to the casino with, or travel with, and you think and suspect that they're a victim of either physical or financial abuse, encourage them to call this number. Or you call us and say, I've got this friend, I don't know what to do, and we can get resources to you, a counselor, somebody who can help you try to help this person, help your friend, help your relative. It's really important. It's such a big issue. It's so important that you call us. Let me make one additional recommendation. This number, we're always happy to take calls on this number. If you have a specific complaint about somebody, a business that you think you've been treated poorly by, if you're the victim of a scam, you know, in cases of abuse, we want you to call us. But in all cases, the best way to get us to take action is to fill out the online complaint form, okay? Which then goes into our system, and we manage all the cases, obviously, through our system. And so the best way to do that, it's also the web address is on here. The best way is to fill out a complaint and to give us as much information as possible. It's really hard for us to act on complaints that are incomplete, right? And so people sometimes, they tweet at me. I guess it's not called Twitter anymore, but they send messages on social media and they say, hey, Mr. Attorney General, this happened. They don't give their name, you don't know who they are, you don't actually know when something happened or the circumstances of why it happened. I can't take action on that because I have no idea what happened, right? I don't have enough details. And so the online complaint form is the best way to give us details. But again, 860-808-5555 for the Elder Justice Hotline. And I can't say that we're happy because these are not always happy situations, but we are certainly ready to help you and to be there to support you. So with that, I'm happy to take some questions. Thank you so much. I have a mic going around.
And I do want everyone to know that we have the Elder Justice Hotline number listed in our bulletin, and we'll continue to have it there for you.
Hi, I recently had a social worker come to my house, okay? And what I'm upset with is this woman, I was out, and when I came back home, there was this business card underneath my doorstep, not even in the door. And it said it came from the social service department, blah, blah, blah. It had the supervisor's name on there. But underneath it was a handwritten name with another number. So I'm up in arms with all this, and I'm saying, well, what the hell is all this about? So then I called up the one with the cell phone number, as well as the one that was the printed number. And the printed number was from a supervisor's area. I left a message, I'm saying, you made a visit to my house, I'd like to know what the heck this is, blah, 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 please call me back, which by the way, I never did get a call back. I called up the other number. A voicemail came on. It was not a professional voicemail. Okay, that's number one. So I left a message, I said, I just got home, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. That woman called me back. She stated that she was from the Elder Abuse Department coming over, and she wanted to talk to me. All right. And, all right, long story short, she says, we got a thing, a report that you have $5,000 credit. You had a charge on your Sears credit card for $5,000. In December, we got this report. And I took that in and I says, no, I says, I was scammed 2 years ago. And it was over $5,000. And this was all off from the computer. Okay? All right, so bottom line is, she says, well, my purpose to come out is just to educate you in regards to this or that. All right, fine. So tentatively, I set up a date with her. But then I started thinking, because I have PTSD from what occurred to me 2 years ago. I was robbed over $7,000. Okay? And that year was very vulnerable for me. My son committed suicide. My husband was dead. All right, the vulnerability played a role. So I was not educated in this area. So I fell hood over sinker over that problem. That has left a memory with me. So with this situation coming up, I then went to my town social service. I live in Bloomfield. I went to my town social service department. They had no concept of what I was talking about. All they could verify was that that supervisor was legit with the state. All right. So they in turn took a copy of the social service card, was going to contact that Christina, of her name, and that person would get back to me. All right. In the meantime, I went to the senior services department. They had no idea what was going on. But I explained to them, I says, look, I says, I have all the red flags here. First of all, it was very unprofessional. If someone's going to come out from the state or the elder department, you should have a printed card with your name on it, not write your name on someone else's business card. To me, that was a red flag, or should be improved, number one, all right? And so I gave the information there. And then after that, I then went to the police department, because I could not understand, how did the Elder Service Department get this report of me with this $5,000 scam? They knew nothing about this, right? So all I could tell you is that I am listed in the national database for identity theft and fraud when the police had taken my report 2 years ago. And that's accordingly what was sent to, that's how they got the information. But so my question to you is this automatically, now this is 2 years after the fact, is this automatically sent from the national database?
I'm not aware of a national database that would send this information.
Or is it that the Elder Service Department here in Connecticut asked for that?
Let us figure out what happened in your specific situation.
Okay.
I can't tell based on your description. I don't think that there's a national organization or database sending out information about people who are victims of scams. But somehow, if somebody got this information, let us figure out if there was a state employee at the Department of Social Services who was involved. Let's figure out what happened there. And so if you want to call this number or fill out a complaint form or talk to Inez on the way out,
okay,
we'd be happy to look at it.
All right.
Thank you. To get one back there, a couple back there.
about corporate fraud.
Yes.
Your bills that you get monthly, especially from big companies, there are a lot of fees and a lot of things that are added on that none of us really pay attention to.
Yes.
And so when you question them and then all of a sudden they say, well, you authorized this, and you realize you never authorized this, and if you look back, you've never offered them the opportunity to do that. How do you fight them? I mean, I put a fraud claim in with the company. It's one of the cellular services. They're looking into it, but they're going to come back to me and say it's not fraud.
So if you think it's fraud, and you think that you did not consent to a charge, okay, this is a classic example where you should fill out the complaint form, and our consumer protection people, and maybe even the Department of Consumer Protection, can look into it for you, and we do. And often, you may not get satisfaction. I can't promise in every situation, but sometimes a call from us can make a difference. It depends is the answer. I don't know what the specific charge is. Look, there's all kinds of charges hidden in all kinds of bills and invoices that we get. I'm the same as you. What we're fighting in the Office of the Attorney General are so-called junk fees, okay, that get larded in, and they claim they disclose it in some fine print somewhere, but nobody ever reads the fine print. And you see junk fees a lot in travel, for example. You'll book a hotel room online, you'll show up at the hotel and they'll say, oh, you owe $25 as a resort charge. Well, I never signed up for a resort charge. You said it was $100 a night. Nobody told me it was $125 a night. Or during COVID, a lot of, unfortunately, restaurants and retailers were adding a 3% surcharge because of inflation, because of supply chain issues. That's illegal without, changing your pricing. It's not legal in this state, other than for gasoline, to add a credit card surcharge, but people do it a lot. And you're at a store and they charge you 3% more for credit card, and you need to buy something and you're late and you're going to pay it because you're jammed up. All of that is wrong. It's not lawful, but it happens. So if something's happening to you like that, fill out a complaint and we will get back to you. We have a team of people ready to handle it.
I have a very quick question, and it's not specific for seniors, it's for everybody in the state.
Yeah.
I know someone who is not a senior who was recently scammed, and is that form that you fill out online for them as well?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the same people that handle complaints for all of you handle scams for everybody.
I suggested
with businesses.
I suggested they contact Consumer Protection, so.
I'm gonna take a few more questions, but I'm gonna ask Kelly from AARP to join us for a minute. I want to ask Kelly to share a few thoughts, if she will.
Sure. Well, hi everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? Good. All right. I want to thank the Senior Center for having us, and I want to thank Attorney General Tong for inviting us to come talk with you all today. I've got a few notes on my phone here, so bear with me for a second.
All the kids are doing it this way.
All the kids. It's true. All right. So when you think about AARP, a lot of people think about discounts at their favorite, coffee shop. They might think of the magazine. They might think of insurance. But I'm here to tell you that we have a local nonprofit wing of AARP right here in Connecticut. Our office is right in Hartford, and we do our work statewide. And we focus on a lot of different issues, and we're out in the community a lot, but one of the main priority issues that we focus on is fraud. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the work that we're doing in the fraud space. So first of all, in the virtual space, we have a webinar that we're doing every other month this year. And each webinar is going to focus on a different fraud or scam. So the first one is actually this Friday, on February 23rd at 12 p.m., just 12 to 12:30, a quick webinar, and we're going to be focusing on identity theft, because of course it is tax season. So we're going to have a representative from the IRS on to talk with us about some of those red flags specific for tax season and how to make sure that you and your loved ones are staying safe. So in order to get the information for that webinar, you're going to go to, and I don't have a handout for you all, I do apologize. So if you have a pen and paper, you can find all of our events at www.aarp.org/CT events. Okay, again, that's aarp.org/CT events. And you can find all the information about our fraud webinars and all the other work that we're doing, all the other events. Now, at the national level, we're also doing a lot. So there's another website where you can sign up for bi-weekly emails. They're called Watchdog Alerts that are going to talk to you all about some of the latest scams, so you can kind of keep getting this educational info, because these events are fantastic, but we know that scammers move fast. So we need to continue to make sure we have this education. So if you go to aarp.org/fraud, you can sign up for those bi-weekly Watchdog Alerts. And last but not least, I'm going to give you another helpline to help you out. So if you're not, like Attorney General Tong was saying, if you're not quite ready to go to the police, maybe if you're not even quite ready to call up his office, AARP also has a National Fraud Watch helpline, and it's trained fraud volunteers. So it's not somebody of authority necessarily, they're trained volunteers. They're your peers. They're highly trained, and they can talk to you a little bit about what you're experiencing, what a loved one is experiencing, and what your next steps might be. So that helpline is available Mondays through Fridays, 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Eastern time, okay? And that's on the fraud website at aarp.org/fraud, but if you want the direct number, it's 877-908-3360. Again, that's 877-908-3360. And I'm just going to take one more minute to also give a shout out to one of our volunteers that we have here, Lauren Weber. Lauren is one of our Fraud Watch volunteers that we have for AARP Connecticut. And Lauren and her volunteer peers go around the state to give fraud presentations. So if you want to bring some of this information to a Rotary group, a faith-based organization, you can contact AARP, and I'll be here if you would like to get my contact information after the event today, and we can bring a fraud volunteer to do a presentation for your group too. So thank you so much. Thank you again to Attorney General Tong. Thank you.
Just a few more minutes. Let me also say that we have volunteers in our office who also work on these issues and support Inez and her group. We call them our Senior Volunteer Corps. And so if you have some time and want to help us out and spend a few hours in the office, or come join us full time, please let us know. But we have a number of volunteers who handle a lot of these calls and are trained to help people who need assistance or find themselves in some bit of trouble, and they help us manage the intake and counsel people. So happy to have any of you join us if you'd like. Nalgan Mom, former Board of Ed member.
Hi, I just wanted to
Happy New
quickly
Year.
share. I just wanted to quickly share an experience I had, and that's related to elderly people. I am obviously an elderly person, but first of all, thank you so much for your talk. It's extremely important what you talked about, and thank you for coming back to West Hartford. I wanted us to know that there are other elderly abuse that's sort of hidden because it's not a big deal. For example, I was crossing Farmington Avenue. I live walking distance. I'm so familiar with the street in West Hartford Center. So I walked over there. I have sciatica, I have pain, so my car's parked old CVS. So I said, let me just across the street and pop in that painkiller. So I pushed the cross sign, but I did not wait until it changes to green. So it's my fault. I totally know that it's my fault. I crossed the street with my 2 bags from the toy chest that are closing after so many years that I wanted to say happy retirement. And I'm carrying 2 bags going like this, crossing the street. Clearly an older person, clearly probably an ignorant person. There was a police car, came right over and practically hit me. The police car is driving this way. I am at CVS. It parked right next to me, just about to hit me. I jumped onto the street and I said, what happened? He came out and he said, driver's license. And I said, I'm not even driving. He's like, I need your identity. You know, give me your driver's license. So I'm shaking. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he thinks I stole things from toy chest. I better have my receipt. I'm looking for my receipt because I'm carrying 2 big bags of sale items. Anyway, he said, you cross the street and that's against the law. And I said, but do you see people crossing right now? Why are you giving me a $75 ticket? Meanwhile, he got in the car and he got my driver's license. He got in the car. I said, oh my goodness, he is calling for backup. Here I am, an elderly person, clearly not white, right? Carrying big bags as if I'm senior. I was so scared that I said, why do you do this to me? Why can't you just come and talk to me and say, excuse me, what you did? And I said, I lived in this town for 35 years. I haven't even gotten a parking ticket. Talk to me nicely, respect a person. And he just said, no, everybody knows you can't cross the street. This is a state law. And I said, do you see they're crossing? He said, I can't catch everybody. To me, after I listened to you, I think this is a kind of elderly abuse that's not reported. I didn't want to report it. I just blamed myself. I did something wrong. I said, I'm sorry, I did something wrong. As he drove away, I was shaking. And I said, this is so scary. To this day, this is almost 9 months now, every time I see a police car, I start shaking because I'm afraid I might have done something wrong. So I'd like to share this with everybody. First of all, don't ever cross the street without pushing it and wait until you scream. And then walk. It's for your own safety. Secondly, I learned, because I was so upset, I talked to my family. I said, I'm going to speak about this at the town council meeting. You can't treat people this way. My children are saying, Mom, why do you have such a big mouth? Asian women don't act like this. Go home and, make your little dumplings and stay in the kitchen and be quiet. That's not me. So I ended up going to the police department, and I talked to, I think it's Lieutenant Riley. He was so patient, listened to me, and he said, I will look at the body camera, and I'll call you back and let you know whether he did something wrong or not. But would you like to file a complaint? And I said, I'm an educator all my life. He's a young man. Why would I want to take something in his record? You talk to him and explain, treat people with respect. He called me in the afternoon and said, we looked at the body camera. The way he parked his car next to you, it was not appropriate. So I just want to share this so we know that don't ever cross the street that way, first of all. Secondly, if you feel you're treated without respect, you're treated wrong, please speak up to your neighbors, to friends, to relatives, so we all learn together. Because we always say, you love this town, you want to stay in this town, and this town has a lot of elderly people, but let's help each other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me say that as tough as that story is, and I hope that police officer is doing better now and recognize that sometimes those are tough situations. Yeah, there's a lot of ageism out there, and people don't always treat older Americans the way they should. And you should report. And no, you don't have a big mouth. And all of us should take responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for people that we know, our friends and our neighbors and our family. That's a situation where you could call us. I think you did the right thing by going directly to the police. I think your town councilor is somebody who you could call and say, look, this happened, and it's a municipal matter, it's a local town matter, and they can probably make a phone call and say, hey, shape up. You don't need to be that way. Let me take one more. In the back.
We all know that there's mandated reporters,
Yes.
Teachers, physicians, etc. And I just want people to be aware, I'm a retired physician, that even if the evidence is clear in front of you, somebody is black and blue, maybe an aide is taking care of your elderly parent. If something looks fishy, I think we almost have to act as mandated reporters, and you could save somebody's life. So your friend that you talked about at the gym, I forget who was talking about that, if something doesn't sound right and that person isn't seeking help, just remember you could have a big impact in accelerating that issue, and it could save a life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all, and just want to make sure everybody gets a flyer today, and if you need anything, please don't hesitate to call. Thank you again. Stay safe.
As I go, please come down. Great.